what is the status of the fuel farm, based that you indicated that that is part of the loan? Is there a concession agreement with a particular fuel provider, or why is it so long that maybe it's not done as yet, because you did not indicate that that was completed? And if not, why are we not looking into internationally for other suppliers who are ready to come here or whatever? My other question will be also, what is the square meter cost? Looking at the picture of the FBO building that you showed, it looked like a miniature of the big building that we have there. What is the square meter cost in the comparison of the both buildings per square meter? What's the cost comparison? Then pertaining to the pre-clearance, which I peeped from next door here, you know, you said that you met, or some people came to you concerning with the pre-clearance. I asked the question was, what will be the cost to get this company activated to bring the pre-clearance to St. Martin, and also what was the financial impact in the positive for St. Martin to have a pre-clearance? So that was not answered, the cost, what it will cost, and what guarantee does this group give that we will get the pre-clearance? Fourth, what and how many jobs after you finish all your improvements will be additional at the airport once you finish all your improvements? Will there be additional jobs at the airport once these new improvements given? How many additional jobs? Then in the newspaper indicated, as you have your three wise men in the back there, in the newspaper indicated that the Minister of Vromi is requesting an independent pricing on the FBO. Did the shareholder rep requested of the airport to have also independent pricing on the FBO? And if that's already done, which I see you have these three wise men in the back there, why then, if the shareholders rep request already, which is government, why then will the Minister of Vromi want to do it one more time again? So I need to know if they had request from the airport for you to get external pricing or whatever it was. My question to you, Mr. Bega, and reading newspapers, what all you're going through personally, and I could imagine, because I'm right now going through also some things in life for the past year, but the question I have for you, do you have full support from the board, your board, with the communications with you and the shareholders rep? Do you have full support from them with you communicating with the shareholders rep? And if you do have that, the question is to me, as I said, a lot of paparazzis and all type of thing come on. Is it true that you have a letter, or the board got a letter, that on the 13th of November you have to vacate your position to a different position within the airport? And the reason why it's bothering me, it seems, which based on everyone's opinion in here, this whole parliament is supporting you 100%. Everyone is here praising you and your management team on what you're doing, and everyone is emotionally with you 100%, and yet there is another house on the other side of this, the caretakers, what's on the way out, is destroying you. If they did send this letter or whatever, on one hand, the bosses in here, which puts them in position, is 100% backing you, and over there is taking a decision to send you home. I am a little bit confused with that. I'm very confused with it. So I would like to know really if there's a letter was sent to you or not, because all this Christmas bonus and all these beautiful things that they're asking you to carry out, in one hand they're asking you to carry it out, on the other hand they're telling you no, they're taking that away from you for carrying out your work, and in real they're destroying you for doing a great work. I have a problem with those things, and I can't be a hypocrite in here in acting nice and everything while you're going through all of this and doing a great job, and on one hand they're trying to destroy you. So I will not sit here and just act nice and thing. At the end of the day, I will support any St. Martiner who's in their position, and I will speak out exactly what I feel about it. So if it's so, I would like to know if they really send you a letter stating that you have to vacate your position on the 13th of November. Because by chance, it's Friday the 13th. And I always scared to fly on Friday the 13th because I grew up with, that Friday the 13th is always a scary day. So I would like to know if it's really so.
AFPOL training that I mentioned earlier was basically if you would consider making it a requirement as part of airport policy to have security guards trained with the same BAFPOL training that the BAFPOL police use. This way they will be awarded the same privileges that the BAFPOL police have as to while they are on duty. I believe there are certain limited weapons that they may have in the event of any interruption, whether it's pepper spray, whether it's taser. I'm not sure of those things, but that was more the question, if it's something you would consider. And that was one of my little creative ways of getting some money into government coffers, because obviously either the owner of the security company or the airport would have to pay for them to be trained there. And everybody happy, better security, more money. Then I'll also state, as it pertains to the parking lot, earlier I did say that I didn't quite understand everything about it. And so based on what you explained, does this mean that only car rental companies, so it's going to be like the one in Miami, the car rental car park. So does this also mean that the car rental companies that do business with the airport only, that will now move over to that car rental building, and all the car rentals within the area will now move to that in order to do business with airport passengers? Anybody outside of that will not be handling airport passengers. The money that going to be collected will be for the cars that are parked there on a daily basis. You have to pay a little fee, whether $5 street. Sound like good revenue. Hopefully Mr. Francio Guadalupe was listening to this meeting and may swiftly contact and establish discussions for the venture of working together with the airport. And I was going to say, you sit there listening to the questions and answering them with one constant thing, regardless of the jabs on this side of the room, and that's with a constant smile. I can't help but ask you if Jesus is at the helm of your vessel and you're smiling at a storm. That's what I was going to close with, but instead I will close with, just like the moons and like the suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise.
I've sat here and I've listened to this meeting, and I imagine myself in your shoes, something I often do when I discuss, especially people, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to continue to say it. What we continue to do to our people is atrocious. It's sad. Only you know what you're feeling, and for that I apologize, in the sense of only God knows what you're going through. And for that, I apologize, because the sentiment and the political spin, of course, would be to say that we are the ones that, and I'm going to say it just like my colleague Christopher Emmanuel can say that's his style, well, that we are the ones that want to get rid of you. And I can say this publicly, and I could say that today. That is absolutely not true. That is not true. That's a lie. The political dynamics that came up, yes, I agree that some of the things could have been handled differently, but we are, as a country, as a political system, we are a young country in the working, and we have a lot of kinks yet to work out. The unfortunate thing is, it seems to me that the people who are who fall victim to working out of the kinks is our own people, and that is a sad reality. That is a sad reality. I pledged it to you, and I will say it here publicly. I don't have to hide. I will say it in the valley. I will say it on the mountaintop. Any St. Martin, any professional at St. Martin that does what, according to me, is right, I have my 100% support. And I don't have to backpedal, speak with two tongues. What I say, I always say. You will not hear something from this member of parliament today and then hear contrary. There's nothing that I wouldn't say that I would not be willing to tell anyone themselves. I would like to know the cost, the cumulative cost of all of the 6 projects together, what that amounts to, and if there is a, what was the, I don't want to ask too much questions, but, and you and I both, Ms. LaBega, was in the tourism field, like me for a short while, and my credentials do not compare to yours at all. But we know that the comparing Aruba with St. Martin, there are a lot of dynamics that you have to take into account. Aruba is not in a hurricane belt, so as such does not really suffer from an off-season. Their occupancy is very high during the summer months. And secondly, Aruba guarantees seats. So when planes fly into Aruba, every seat is paid for because the government of Aruba pays for those seats, in which they're in a financial crisis today, and St. Martin does not, has never guaranteed seats. So I would like you to elaborate on that a little more as well.
Here we go. This is freedom, this is life. Happiness is all I'm seeking. Carpe diem, I'm seizing every day, not just the weekend. Here's to all the good times that have come to last. Here's to living in the now.
When you can afford what you crave, life just gets so
So
good.
alive and I'm feeling good, so good, so good, so good. Hey, I'm gonna live my life, feeling good, so good, real good, so
KFC, so good for everyone.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
Need a loan that's quick and easy. Island Finance. Up to 50,000 guineas real easy. Island Finance. For education, a renovation. That's no problem. Yes, it's true. That's not all. They're quick and friendly too. Island Finance. Appliances, vacations, even fix your car. You can depend on Island Finance.
Anybody bingo? Nobody bingo.
One of the most important issues to me, and especially seeing what the airport and how it's been growing and where you really see the growth happening. I have been a proponent probably from the time I was Commissioner of Tourism on the U.S. immigration and also the issue of U.S. customs. Is that something that the airport as a team would look positive to? If yes, have you ever done a study or anything like that of what would be the positive or the negative affects not only for the airport, but what perception it would do for the country of St. Martin. There's also been the discussion that I've heard quite often about the original designs of the Princess Juliana International Airport did not really include a so-called transit hall. Has that been discussed? Because I didn't see that in your list of projects that have been put forward. Would that is that something that is only beneficial to the country, or is that something beneficial also to the airport, especially if we're looking at the figures of the airport? And then also a point that was brought forward on the projects done at the airport. Are the projects that are done just so that there's clarity and transparency in here? The bidding procedure, is it by invitation or is it an open bid for projects that go on in the airport? So perhaps you can just enlighten us on the bidding procedure of how projects are done at the airport. And then the last part, there's been a lot of suggestions and points, and I've also seen when I'm abroad, is that you actually see police in addition to security at international airports around the region and abroad as well. Is that something that you would support if, for example, you were able to strike an agreement with the government of St. Martin to be able to actually station and house physical police officers within the airport on its premises? Because I believe, I think one of the speakers before talked about bomb threats and issues like that. But the issue comes down that if something were to happen at the airport, you would actually have to call in for police to come to the airport, whereas you would actually have them physically. And like I said again, most of the other questions have already been asked, so I would just leave those few.
And that question was, can we give an explanation on Moody's? Moody's is an international credit rating agency, and it's headquartered in New York. And you wanted a little bit more information so persons can understand. It was important for the country to get a credit rating, as well as the airport to get a credit rating, because that would facilitate us going on the bond market to get funding. So that is what is important. So your investors look at you favorably if you have a public credit rating. The next question was, where does St. Martin rank in terms of regional competition? In terms of the general aviation, we rank right behind the Bahamas, number 2, and based on the Caribbean Tourism Organization statistics, we're number 3 based on our competitive mix. Why do we need a fixed base operation, and what is it? FBO stands for fixed base operation, and it's usually a separate operation. At many airports in the world, it's separate from your commercial building, so there's a distance away, so it has their own separate, so that's why it's called fixed base. And fixed base it usually caters to the general aviation, or like we call them, the private jet. So it's a private jet facility, in other words. The reason why it's extremely important, because of course we would want to maintain being number 2 in the Caribbean and maintaining our market share. Who are our creditors? Our creditors are Cigna and Guggenheim, as well as First Caribbean Bank International. Why didn't we look to local investors? We did look at local investors. We've had meetings with local investors, but at that time they couldn't meet our deadline. And I'm sure you can imagine meeting the deadline was extremely important, because we needed to go for funding, and they didn't do that. Why didn't we go to the central bank? The central bank is a regulator and a depository for local banks. So you wouldn't go to your regulator for funding. Did Clarence Derby request a screening for the management of the SXM? The entity that requests screening after 10-10-10, the law for screening came into existence. And that came into existence in 10-10-10, and I believe it became effective in 2012. So 2010 and then 2012. Why is government or the board Was government or the board that requested the appraisal of the properties? Was it government that requested the appraisal of the properties? No. Was it the opportunity for future growth? Is there opportunity for future growth at the cargo facility? Yes, there is opportunity for approximately 40%. So there is room for growth at the new cargo facility. And it's important to also note that the new cargo facility, besides growth, the modernization of the cargo facility was also important because we needed to be in compliance. So in terms of the fire department and various other compliance issues regulated by government. What are the comparisons for GA over the years? Over the years, I would say that we've been more or less flat in terms of the general aviation. And what we need to also make clear is that the general aviation segment, so that segment of carriers, the aircrafts have actually gotten bigger. So in the past, the general aviation owners, they had smaller aircrafts. Now they come with bigger aircrafts. So you're not really comparing apples with apples when looking at the type of aircrafts in general aviation. MP Franz Richardson asks, is it true that 30% of the general aviation now goes to Anguilla? And the answer is no. Can we have a breakdown of the pending projects?
It's been said that behind every door, possibility awaits. How much possibility depends on which door you open first. Every day, we help our customers discover the possibilities in their lives. It all starts with a conversation. Scotiabank.
Anybody bingo? Nobody bingo.
Well, first of all, I want to say that it's not my party, but I am stressing that it's our party. I am the leader, but cannot lead without people following. So I'm stressing that this is ours. And one of the things that we want to do is to be able to bring about a reconciliation within government, within parliament, if we're so elected, and within government, so that there's communication, because we see tension between these two levels of government. And if either of them have to govern well, they need to reconcile, communicate, work together, cooperate, and understand that it's not about me, but it's about what I can do to improve the quality of life on St. Martin for the people here. And we should be able to do that together. I would want for us to ensure that we're going to work together. And it's not about self-interest. It's not what about I'm going to get out of government, but it's what I can do for the people of this island and what the party can do. And we won't be able to do it together alone. We will need to work with others And we're willing to work with others, but we're not willing to lower our standards. We believe that we have certain principles. Our party says we want to work according to Christian principles and values and norms. We want to ensure and improve and promote integrity, honesty, transparency, and those qualities. And we want to work with people who also have similar interests for the sake of St. Martin.
Now, I listened to the radio since you launched your party, and there was a big discussion about yourself as a Christian. But the key point that I want to bring out here, that this person said the only way to be elected is to buy your vote. Do you agree?
To buy your vote?
No.
No.
To buy someone's votes for you to get elected.
Well, I don't believe in buying votes. I don't think that should be done, and this will not be the policy of our party. You will vote for us because you support what we stand for. And if you don't support it, I don't think we will have money enough to buy it. So, no buying of votes, for sure.
Okay, so what message would you want to tell those that who's thinking in mind that for your party to be elected, that's the way to go?
Well, I think that would be a bad start. If we're coming into government to say we want to promote integrity and honesty and those character traits, then starting off by buying votes would not be the right thing to do. Everybody is free to vote where he or she wants to vote. And no, I don't agree with buying somebody's vote.